Hello, writers. I'm Lee Jessup, career coach for emerging and professional screenwriters, as well as business of screenwriting professor with the David Lynch grad program for cinematic studies. Today, I want to dig into release forms. Release forms are also often sent to writers from producers, management companies, managers, agents, anybody in the industry who wants to read your material, who usually wouldn't know you from Adam, so your script doesn't come in through another manager, through your lawyer, through an agency, but rather comes in directly from you to them. And a release form protects the recipient before they receive the material. Now, the first thing I will say about release agreements is that I always encourage all my writers to have somebody who understands legal language review any material before you sign it. Incredibly important. You can read it yourself, and if it looks harmless, great. But if you're not sure, I highly, highly recommend either working with a lawyer or calling your cousin who's in grad school, whatever it is. Get some legal eyes on that material. We want to be smart and thoughtful as we sign off, and we don't want to just assume that everything is okay. But why are these release agreements so important? Oftentimes, if your material doesn't come in through an agent, manager, or lawyer, or through a production company that the producer or agent or manager has already worked with, they don't have a personal relationship with you. They don't know you, and the material is not coming in solicited. They have not requested it from an agent, manager, or lawyer, and therefore feel a level of protection. Because of that, they want to protect themselves from any exposure. Exposure is in you can come back and sue them down the line. What are they talking about? Years ago, I interviewed John Zauzierne for my book, Breaking In. I recently interviewed him for the Rep Files as well, and check out that interview because he was great. But when we talked for my book, Breaking In, Tales from the Screenwriting Trenches, here's what John had to say to me. He said, if I want to develop a script about an ambassador on the run for a crime he didn't commit, and you send me a screenplay years ago about an ambassador who was investigating the murder of his wife, you could argue that the two things are the same or close or something like that. At the end of the day, John said, there's very little gain on my end for reading some random query letter. There's much more gain for the writer to do that, to have me read. If they're querying me, then I'm probably in a more established position than you are. It's all downside for me if I do it, meaning if I read without a release form. The second thing that I would say, and this again is John, is that if you're worried about signing a release agreement, then you're probably not somebody I want to work with because you're coming at it from a position of mistrust, which is always a challenge, and what he called a difficult jumping off point. Now, again, I highly encourage you to review material before you sign it and to have legal eyes on any material, but understand that some production companies, some management companies will not read without a release agreement if the material is not coming from an agent manager they already have a relationship with. So I do encourage you to read them, but understand that they are part of the way that some companies do business, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as that release agreement doesn't automatically give the company that provided the release agreement any right to the material, right? We want to protect your rights. We want to protect your material, and that's why we want it registered with the WGA, with a U.S. Copyright Office, or with a copyright office in any country that you reside in. But the release agreement is to protect the recipient. So your copyright protects you, your WGA registration protects your writing, while the release agreement protects the recipient and spares them any future exposure, because the reality is that they may also be in development now on something that could have some similarities. And so that release agreement protects them. All right, I hope you found this helpful. Of course, subscribe for more because more will be coming, and hopefully we'll connect soon. Bye.